Welcome to Zoo Nation, where we talk about history as it unfolds and look at the political zoo that's around us. My name is Josh,
I'm Nathan.
and we're here to bring you three stories. We're going to be talking about the Trump phone call to Raffensperger in Georgia. Then we're going to be talking about the charges regarding Stormy Daniels. I mean, the big news, everyone's been talking about Trump getting indicted. And then the third, we'll be getting into Trump versus Desantis, more of that, and the Republican primary just in general. So, to begin, to start off with Raffensperger and the phone call down to Georgia and Governor Kemp. Vox.com writes, Georgia's big Trump election investigation has been explained. A grand jury investigation in Georgia intensified this summer and could be a greater legal threat to Trump than the Justice Department. While the Congressional Committee investigating January 6th has been holding public hearings, the Justice Department has been steadily securing convictions of hundreds of those who breached the Capitol. A grand jury in Atlanta has been meeting behind closed doors to focus on efforts by former President Donald Trump and his allies to reverse Joe Biden's election win in Georgia. So in essence, the election in 2020 had just happened. January the 2nd, Trump calls up Raffensperger in Georgia and speaks to him, and basically he's told we don't have the votes for Georgia to turn red, it's blue.
Yep.
And so he said, well then get me the votes. Basically get me the 11,000 and some 780 votes. And that is what they're trying to get him on. They're trying to say you are telling Raffensperger and Governor Kemp.
We need to find.
Well, and what the charge is, you're telling them to commit a crime.
Yeah.
You're trying to interfere with the election. They're trying to get this to stick. And as we've said before, and I'll just reiterate, it's like, okay, y'all couldn't get him on he's a racist. You couldn't get him on he's a sexist. You tried to get him on he's raped people with the whole grab him by the you-know-what tape in November or October when it came out, in November. They tried to get it to influence November 2016. Then it was Russian collusion. Then it was the Ukrainian phone call. Then it was January 6th. Then it was him taking documents out of the White House when he should not have with the whole FBI raid. And now, I mean, there was already people talking about Georgia, talking about Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels, that was talked about in 2016.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Right.
It's never really gone away, the issue.
Yeah.
That's the issue with all this. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there listening to this who's like, haven't we heard about this? It's like, yeah, you have. This has been talked about pretty much since this guy started to run. And the question is it going to go anywhere? I don't think so. They will use whatever they can as fodder to attack Trump. And in your opinion, as you look at this, and I'll be reading here in a little bit, when you first heard the story, do you think any of the Georgia story is credible as far as a potential legal issue for Trump?
As far as legal goes, no. However, the only thing that I will say is if I didn't know that this was just Democrats trying to figure out a way to shut down Trump, if this was anybody else, right, I would be like, hey, this is the only one that could possibly stick, because it's like, hey, you know, if you take words at face value like that, but also it was just words, for one. Like, I don't think you're committing a crime just by saying, hey, we need to find, you know, these votes, because he was claiming that there were lost votes. Therefore, if there were lost votes, go find them. That's not trying to cheat. That's saying, hey, there's lost votes. We need to find them. Now, were they there or not? I think they were. But were they there or not? That's another story. But again, if he believed that there were, you know, 11,780 votes lost, telling somebody, hey, we need to go find these lost ballots, it's not wrong. It's not illegal. So from a legal perspective, no. Again, I guess if you're just a media guy, media Democrat, I can see why you would run with this, I guess. But yeah, legal-wise, it's got a little stick, I guess, to an extent, because just at first glance, it's kind of like, oh yeah, but then you read more into it, it's like, oh no. So it's like it's stuck and then fell. You know, so yeah, that's
Isn't this how this always goes with the Democrats?
Oh yeah, pretty much. It's like,
socialism,
oh,
yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, it's like even with the Stormy Daniels thing, it's like, oh yeah, this. Wait a minute, no, it doesn't.
And here, well, and to me, the Stormy Daniels thing actually, we'll get into that later. That is a moral failing on his part regarding the fact that he did cheat on his wife.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah.
can I understand why you would pay a woman money to not talk about it? Yeah. Again, perhaps we can get into that a little bit later,
Yeah.
but we will. But I thought you were pulling out your wallet to give me money for.
Oh yeah, right. Some hush money for you. No, actually, I was trying to pull something up.
While you do that, I'll just read. While the Congressional Committee, and just interrupt when you're ready.
Yeah.
While the Congressional Committee investigating January the 6th has been holding public hearings, a grand jury in Atlanta has been meeting behind closed doors to focus on efforts by former President Donald Trump and his allies to reverse Joe Biden's election win in Georgia. So the narrative is Biden won fair and square, and they're trying to say Trump tried to steal Georgia from Biden, which is funny because Trump was saying Biden stole Georgia from him.
Right.
So they're mutually stealing, and so instead of everyone being men of their word, like Jack Sparrow said, none of them were men of their word. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
So also talking about the just these cases in general, this is going to the Stormy Daniels thing a little bit. You know, we talk about the hush money. Trump didn't pay the hush money. It was actually hold on. In a 2018 letter from Michael Cohen's lawyer to the FEC declares that Cohen used his own personal funds to pay Stormy Daniels. Trump camp, not party transaction, did not reimburse Cohen for payment. It's over. That's not it's over. But yeah. So Trump didn't reimburse the guy for it. So therefore, Cohen was the other guy to pay it. It was technically the one to pay Stormy Daniels. So it's not a Trump thing. I mean, you could make an argument that it is, but Trump didn't commit the crime.
Well, but Michael Cohen represents Trump, does he not?
Yeah, but also Trump didn't reimburse him. There's a lot into it.
There is.
I don't know. Like,
and we'll go into that here in a little bit.
Like, yeah, 100%. But that is something, you know, that's new. Like, that's definitely new on it. It's funny how we're finding things now, you know, as this. Oh yeah, it seems like Trump's gonna get indicted. Oh really? Then why are we finding this, and that?
So if anyone wants to know why this investigation in Atlanta even got started, the special grand jury was convened in May at the request of Fani Willis, the district attorney. Yeah, I know. District attorney. It would be really funny if like her favorite fashion statement was a fanny pack.
Yeah, right.
The district attorney for Fulton County, which includes Atlanta, and she's leading it as a woman too. It will lead the ongoing investigation launched by Willis in February of 2021 into the conduct of Trump and his allies in the aftermath of the 2020 election. This is an investigative jury, which is slightly different from a regular grand jury that would hear every felony under the sun.
Yeah.
Tamar Hallerman, a reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, has been focused on the investigation, told Vox in July. It is focused on this one exclusive case. The whole idea is that they really can become experts and do a deep dive on everything to overturn Georgia's election results. Special grand juries are relatively rare in Georgia and are often used in intensive, long-lasting investigations such as this one into the effort to overturn a presidential election in Georgia. So the narrative is, oh, this hardly ever happens. This must be like a big deal for it to be happening. They must have Trump dead to rights.
Yeah.
So what are they investigating? They're exploring whether Donald Trump and his allies violated Georgia state law in their efforts to reverse the former president's 2020 loss in the state. Those efforts include his notorious phone call, again, note the language, on January the 2nd, 2021, with Georgia Secretary of State, so that's who Raffensperger is, he's the Secretary of State for Georgia, in which Trump said he wanted to find 11,700.
These are in quotations, too.
Right. In quotes, Trump said he wanted to find 11,780 votes. It also encompasses efforts by the Trump campaign to create a slate of fake electors in Georgia to transmit fraudulent electoral votes to Congress for certification. Last week, Willis sent a letter to all 16 fake electors in the state to inform them they were considered targets of the investigation, which means they are being viewed as potential subjects of indictment and not just witnesses. She had previously subpoenaed them in June. Okay, interesting.
It's over, guys.
Yeah. In addition to subpoenaing the fake electors, the grand jury has sought testimony from a wide array of figures ranging from a former publicist for Kanye West, who allegedly tried to pressure an election worker into making untrue claims about voter fraud, to Brian Kemp, the state's Republican governor, who was the subject of an unrelenting pressure campaign by Trump to take action on his behalf.
They're just trying to take anybody down who supported Trump. Huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like that.
You know,
Kanye West under fire again. Well, not Kanye West, but somebody who supported Kanye West.
who was a publicist
For Kanye West. So I mean,
So
still.
to me, the thing about there's levels here. So it's like, is it right or okay for Trump to say find these votes?
We need to find these. We need to find these votes.
Like you say, if he believes that they're missing, which I'm sure he believes that they were, that's one thing. It's another thing to be like print them out of thin air, which is not what he said. He did not say make these votes happen, be like voting late. He didn't say have people vote late. He didn't say make fake ballots. He did not say to do anything violent. It doesn't sound like he called for a crime. Now, if Raffensperger or Kemp committed a crime, that's one thing. And then you're looking into, okay, because that's the thing. The big thing is, even if Trump did, no crime got committed. It'd be one thing if then Georgia turned red, and they're able to prove it's because they said, yes, Mr. President, and they went and forged ballots. But
if they forged them,
right,
versus actually found them.
Right, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to take it to the strongest conclusion. Even if they did commit a crime, but it failed, then there's no issue. It's kind of like a no blood, no foul.
Right.
And there hasn't. I mean, the state went blue in 2020. At least that's what the Electoral College said.
Yeah.
So
Georgia's blue.
Yeah, it's
maybe not then, but Georgia is done.
Yeah, they put in Raphael Warnock, who's a communist.
Georgia's blue. Like, I believe that now. I didn't believe that then, but it's blue now.
Atlanta and the other big cities are big enough to me. I think that's what changed, is like it's just got so many people from northern and just generally leftist states that it's turned that way.
Yeah,
so
those people from California come over to the south, and apparently, I guess Georgia might have
really
been some of that area.
Some of it's that, but a lot of it is what they call halfbacks, of people coming from New York. They don't want to stay in New York and pay the taxes, so they come down to Florida, and then they decide they don't want to stay in Florida, or they do stay in Florida.
Also, manufacturing is very popular.
There's that.
Here in the southeast.
There's that.
I mean, there's that. You know, so moving to Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, that's just popular in general for manufacturing.
But a lot of them also are union guys that come down here. I've met them at places I've worked, and they come down here and they complain about there's no unions down here, and it's like, well, then why did you leave the north? It's just stupid.
There's plenty of union states for you.
Yeah, go back. Go back if you want to be in a state where these people. Yeah, maybe there's a connection between the high taxes and the union
or
fees.
I mean, I don't want you to, but vote to change it. If you don't like it, you can always vote to change it. But again, I don't
do it in
want
your
you.
own state though.
Do it. Preferably, don't California my South Carolina.
Exactly.
Even though South Carolina is not the best, red state, we still have Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and
still, it's definitely better.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Oh yeah.
Boy, I said boy.
It's still definitely better than California. I can say that. So yeah, let's at least we can make we can make South Carolina better, but let's not turn it into California. So.
No. and so to me, there's no legal crime committed here. I see a man trying to redress actual problems with the election. And he's now they're trying to say, and here's the thing, the big issue with all of this is the leftist worship of democracy, and that's the thing. The worst thing you can do in their minds is to undermine democracy, and that's what they're trying to say. By you saying find these votes, he was calling for a crime, and therefore he was trying to stop democracy itself. A bunch of hooey, but regardless, that's what they're trying to say, and it's not true. I mean, he was actually trying to make sure that people's votes did count, and they're trying to say the opposite and say, oh, you were encouraging people to commit a crime and get yourself in there in an unjustified way.
And my thing is like the Dems really want to play this game of like, oh, we need to take everybody for their word a lot, as far as like words mean everything, so what you say is like what you mean type. Like you hear that a lot from just the left in general. Okay, if words are really mean, like people say what they mean specifically, then find the votes doesn't mean go make votes. Find, typically when you use the word find, that's because something's lost, right? I mean, I need to find my keys, not go get my keys, not go make me new keys. That'd be different. Now, I will have somebody go make me new keys if I, can't find them. But again, find. If you can't find something, it's all in the words here. Yeah, but see that'll only work on your car, not my car. But yeah, no. I don't know. Like the Dems don't. All of a sudden, they don't want to play the word game here of like, oh yeah, he really meant that. No, he said fine.
And see, what you just said is spot on. Imagine if anyone on the left had said anything close to this, they'd be given every excuse in the book.
If this was Biden, if this was Hillary, whatever.
Yeah.
No, find me. Oh, she didn't actually mean like. Oh, he didn't actually mean. Really?
Well, when Obama talked about wiretapping the Trump Tower, he wasn't actually talking about that, you know, or like the people in his,
right.
the
No,
people
he
in his
didn't
FBI.
actually do it. Come to find out, he actually did.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
What?
It's just horrible because it's the double standard, and that's the thing about really the overarching thing about all of Trump's so-called legal trouble is just that even if he did by some stretch commit a crime here or here, they want to take him down with the full extent of the law and treat people that associated themselves with Epstein, the Clintons, the Bidens, the Obamas with kid gloves like, oh well, if anything, we'll say, you know, that was naughty, you really shouldn't have done that, like basically Comey did with Clinton. James Comey, director of the FBI with Clinton when she was running in 2016. But God forbid you're on the right and you do anything out of line. And so that's the attitude. And so Hallerman says this is major. This represents the first time that the DA is piercing the inner orbit of Donald Trump. Previously, she stayed at the state and local level and kept it very Georgia-based. Now they're talking about making it a bigger deal than it previously was. Graham and Giuliani have tried to avoid testifying. Giuliani was ordered by a New York judge to testify in person in August after he failed to show up to a court hearing contesting his subpoena. He eventually spent 6 hours testifying in person on August the 17th. Okay, so what's the purpose of bringing it that he...
They ever going to give that man his license back, by the way? Giuliani.
Well, that's the question. If they can
help it,
if they can help it, probably not.
No, they won't.
It's really, really terrible. So, yeah. One thing that's interesting about the whole 2020 election thing, I didn't want to bring this up. Did you see where apparently Hannity now is on record saying, "I never believed that the 2020 election was a fraud or contested or stolen"?
Oh, really?
It's coming out that Hannity has said. Hannity is saying that now. He did not say that previously. He's saying that, when I say now, I saw this a while ago, not like this week, but apparently, Fox is facing legal issues from, Dominion.
So what?
Dominion is saying you were floating Fox News theories about the election machines, so we're going to sue you. And now Fox is saying, oh, we backed down from that, and Hannity is saying, oh, I never believed it was a fraud. Even though...
Dominion's got a point, I guess. You did say one thing, so what? Technically, that's defamation, I guess, is what they're probably saying.
That's what they're saying.
Defamation. I'm not saying they're right.
Right.
They've got a point. Especially if they're backing down. Like, I
don't know if Dominion was the issue. I feel like it may have been like pre-Dominion, like other stuff going on. Mm-hmm. It may have been a mixture of different things. I don't know.
But if they are backing down, right? It's like, so it's like, if I go and said, Josh is a real jerk, oh man, dude's crazy, he does all this other stuff, blah, 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 and you find out about it, no, dude, I never said that. But, you did.
You did, yeah, so that's the issue.
So that's the problem.
It's not like, I would say to you, in that situation, well, Nathan, I believe this, but now I believe this, and here's why.
Yeah.
That's not Hannity's case.
Yeah.
Hannity's case is saying, I never believed that, which, from watching his show previously, it's not true.
Yeah.
So, I never was a big fan of him, and
no.
I
kind of like some of his.
Sometimes he's decent, but to me, he's...
I like Tucker better.
Yeah, same here. I prefer Tucker to the alternative, but...
Oh, yeah. No,
anyway,
I agree. There's some stuff that's good in my opinion.
Yeah. So we got that situation going on, and then we have the article, and actually I think it was one that you sent me, or regardless, I looked it up. Yeah, you didn't send this to me, but I looked it up. DailyMail.co.uk says, they ask if this is the smoking gun. There's a letter from Michael Cohen claiming Donald Trump did not reimburse him for hush money paid to Stormy Daniels. Appears to fly in the face of the star witness's grand jury testimony. Cohen, which is Trump's former lawyer, is the star witness in the case over which Trump reportedly faces imminent arrest. So basically, it sounds like Cohen is saying Trump did, but there's a letter from him previously saying he did not. So Yeah,
Well, if it's a legal letter saying he didn't, I mean, I don't know.
yeah. Cohen, Trump's former lawyer and star witness, over which Trump reportedly faces imminent arrest, claims that Trump got him to pay $130,000 to Daniels to keep her quiet about her alleged affair with the real estate mogul, or mogul, mogul, just days before the 2016 presidential election. I don't know if it was that recently.
Okay,
before
so
the election.
basically, so this is the loophole to this, right? One, Trump didn't read. I'm not saying this is right. Like, any of this, none of this is right. However, they wouldn't do this to any other president except for Trump. That's the issue here. And they wouldn't do this to anybody else except for Trump. You know, so that's the whole issue. But anyway, loophole here is Trump didn't do it, right? He proceeded to get, Cohen to do it. So therefore, Cohen did it, not Trump officially. Now, is he accessory? Sure, maybe, but that's not the problem.
Well, so here's the issue. The letter, it says, appears to be in direct conflict with Cohen's sworn testimony to Congress given a year later. Cohen said under oath that Trump asked me to pay off an adult film star with whom he had an affair, and that Mr. Trump directed me to use my own personal funds from a home equity line of credit to avoid any money being traced back to him that could negatively impact his campaign. So he's saying under oath now Trump did reimburse him, but in this previous letter he's saying that Trump did not. And so
one of these things is
either Cohen just needs to be completely disregarded, or he needs to be put on that hot seat and said, okay, were you lying then, or did you just lie now under oath in court? Because if he lied under oath in court, that's perjury, and that is a very serious crime.
But even still, who paid?
Well, it sounds like, well, that's the thing, they have to establish when did you lie. Because if you lied and Trump did reimburse you, that's one thing. If you lied and Trump actually, like if you lied right now and you were right in 2018 when you wrote the letter, that's the question. And here's the thing, even if Trump did pay this to this woman, I'm hearing that the Manhattan DA that is talking about this, it's someone doing with my
I see.
I'm hearing that the Manhattan DA that's presiding over this case is actually probably going to hit Trump with a misdemeanor, not an actual felony or a high crime. That misdemeanor is not a good thing. And here's the thing: this whole situation is screwed up because not only was he not married to Stormy Daniels, obviously it says it was an affair. He was married to a woman. I don't know if it was Ivana or if it was a different woman, his first wife. But he was cheating on her with Daniels.
I think it was the first one.
Okay. I forget the exact order. One I think was a Mary and one was Ivana. I forget the order of who was first. But regardless, he was cheating with Stormy Daniels. Should he have done that? Absolutely not. Should he have paid her money to keep her quiet? I don't think so. Now, does it make sense politically to say, well, I'm about to run for office, or we're about to have an election, I'm going to pay you money to not talk about it? Again, it makes sense. I'm not saying it's okay. It's bad. Because he shouldn't have done any of this to begin with. It's one of those things where it's like, the sin resulted in the cover-up money to keep it quiet.
But then again, it's the process. Right. That's the thing. It's like, it is what the Dems are doing here also right. Just
No,
like, again, I'm with you. What Trump did is wrong, 100%. Now, are you charging him with the right stuff? Is the question. That's the big thing.
And
you never indict anybody else for this.
And the problem is, I feel like what the left will do is try to run with what he's saying now and saying, oh, you're under oath now, saying Trump did reimburse you, but they need to look at this 2018 letter and they need to figure out, okay, when did you lie? And if you did lie, are we going to believe anything you even say? I mean, that's the issue. So, messy situation. Does this have a possibility of changing anyone's mind, do you think? Regarding, like, both situations, the 2020 call with Kemp and the other guy, the Secretary of State.
Is anybody's minds actually being changed at this point, in my opinion, when it comes to Trump? No. Now, the reason I say that is, how many people's minds were changed when? Are we allowed to say the C word?
Go ahead.
Are we allowed to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We've been banned multiple times, and he's not talking about the C word, to be clear. He's talking
Oh
about...
yeah, not the 4-letter word.
Yeah.
Oh, that's still a 4-letter word.
That's funny.
It is a 4-letter word, but not the one you're thinking of. But no, yeah, we've been banned multiple times because you can't say the jab and everything else. Anyway,
We're not talking about a job in like a Manhattan accent. The jab. Right. We're talking about the shot.
Yeah, the pointy thing. Did anybody's minds change? Anybody that you knew that was hard left? I don't know how many hard leftists you know. I know a lot of hard leftists. When the COVID thing came out? Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Oh, what do you mean? That did what? Like questioned it?
Like, what did it? Not questioned it. That that believed it. Did anybody's mind change as these?
Oh, did it change? No.
No, exactly. No. So like did anybody's mind change after January 6th though? No.
I don't think so.
That's the thing. It's like these processes have been going on, and it's like boom, boom. The only thing that I've actually noticed that has changed people's mind is Biden sucks. That's it. But they never said, oh, I need to go vote for Trump because, oh yeah, Trump was great.
Yeah.
All I've heard is Biden sucks. We just need somebody new. I agree to an extent. You need somebody new, but not what you think. You know. But yeah. So that's my problem. Is like nobody's mind is really changing here. Trump voters aren't changing, which again I don't necessarily believe they need to change. Except for the base. There is some of the base that I have an issue with. We can get into that later.
Sure.
But no, Trump voters aren't changing. Never Trumpers aren't changing. And I really don't think independents are changing. Like, except for, again, like I said, Biden sucks. And my wallet is a lot lighter, you know. And gas is really expensive. That's about it. So it's like, I don't see anything changing.
Yeah, regarding I think you're right. There might be a couple of people, when all is said and done, that will go on Trump's side, just a couple, like one or two.
Yeah.
But I do think, I don't think I think overall, the people that have been screaming about the Ukrainian phone call, Russian collusion, and him being a sexist and racist are now going to be saying, see, he tried to commit interference with the election. See, he tried to commit a crime by paying off Stormy Daniels. They're trying to get whatever they can to stick.
Is this swaying people for the primaries? Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I will say that. I think for like a Trump versus DeSantis thing, this possibly does sway polls in Trump's favor, honestly, because this is like kind of igniting some people here. So I do think that like primaries this does, but as far as like whoever the Democrat is, no, it doesn't do a single thing. Nobody's mind's changed there. It's still, split, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't think it's changed, except for, again, maybe the primary numbers, and maybe Trump was looking at the primary numbers, and this is one of the reasons that he even, brought this publicly. I mean, it was going to come out publicly anyway, but I mean, he was the one that initiated it publicly. Maybe that's one of the reasons he brought it out, too, is like, hey, I'm going to get indicted, and, blah, 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 because maybe the poll numbers weren't as high as he expected, so he wanted to amp them up. I mean, which is a good strategic move, if you think about it. Just a theory, I mean, again, it was going to come out anyway and would have raised but when it's coming specifically from Trump, it just got people talking about Trump faster. So anytime there's talking about Trump faster, or just anytime there's talking about Trump in a negative or positive way, it typically raises poll numbers, at least in the primaries. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's a theory there. But is this going to play out into the 2024? No. But will it play out in the primary? Possible.
Could be.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right about that.
But it's not swaying a single Democratic voter. It's not swaying any independents, I really don't think. You got to play more of a hardball than, the guy is, everybody's still against the guy. Nobody cares. Seriously, nobody cares.
Well,
people do, but
the people that care,
the people that do care are already voting
right,
for it.
That's the thing. I wouldn't say nobody cares. I feel like you're saying, you're not changing anyone's mind. So in that sense, nobody cares. In that sense, nobody cares.
Exactly.
You can't get them to care because they care about other stuff, and their mind will not change. Most cases, again, I do think once in a while, something woke up Dave Rubin. Something is sort of in the process of waking up Bill Maher. Again, I wish
But
that
that's
he
also,
would.
again, Biden sucks.
Right.
As I told you, a lot of these people are, man, my wallet is a lot lighter. Man, this and that. And their solutions aren't, again, oh, we should have Trump back or we need a Republican. Their solutions, that at least from just talking to Democrats that I know in general, their solution is we just need somebody else.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing about Maher, and Rubin is real like basic conservative. He's not really about really winning. Like from what I can tell, he doesn't want like an actual hardcore conservative because he's a gay man. That's not really. He's more like in the middle / almost libertarian, like classical liberal. He calls himself a classical liberal, self-identifying as a classical liberal. And Maher is just kind of a liberal. I mean, he's not really a classical liberal. He's not really a leftist. He's just kind of a liberal.
Right.
I would say he's just kind of an American neoliberal person. That's actually pretty politically ignorant, but I wish he would admit that. But sometimes when you do see it, sometimes someone will say something on his show, and you can tell he genuinely doesn't know what to say because he doesn't know. Like he just doesn't know. He's a guy that likes to come out here, talk about culture, and make funny jokes. He's not a guy that studies political theory and actually thinks about these things in a serious way.
Yeah, he's not a Ben Shapiro
or whatever.
Charlie Kirk or anything.
Like when you mentioned Shapiro, he couldn't sit down and write a book called The Right Side of History.
No.
He can't do that. Like that's not who Maher is. You're asking Maher to be someone he's not when you say that. Or to write any of the big books. Any of this kind of thing. I mean, that's not for Maher to write.
Yeah.
He would probably read The College Scam and agree with some of it,
Yeah, exactly.
Some of it,
he's
kind
the
of
reader. He's not the writer.
So we can now. I mean, that's I think a pretty good way to. We've already been going away from the first two stories, which are about the Georgia election, electoral college election, and Trump's call. And then we went into the Cohen call. So now let's go on to 2024. So you mentioned earlier you alluded to something to do with Trump's base, and we can go ahead and go into that.
So the problem I have with Trump's base, this is just in general. This has nothing to really do with Trump's base are the really too far right guys. I guess is what we can say. Too far right guys in general is a lot of these guys are just not. A minority of them are out here, making tweets of Trump is a god and all this other type of stuff. That's bad. That's bad, especially for a guy that has a big ego, in my opinion. A very big ego, a Trump-sized ego. That's bad because if that minority becomes a majority of his base, he's going to do or say whatever his majority wants. For example, build a wall. That's what his majority wanted at the time. In 2016, he'll say whatever the heck. Again, he was an actor and everything else. I mean, actor. Not a good one. But no. Again, he knows how to play these games for people. As far as whatever he needs to say, he will. So I don't know. You got to be careful. This is just talking to his base. If you support him, that's fine. That's cool. But you got to be careful on what you're saying as far as oh, he's a god, or oh, he was Jesus sent. I'm not gonna say he was Jesus sent, but as far as did God put him in the position that he was at the time? 100%. But God also has the ability to take him away from the position as well, and God also put Biden in the position that he's at as well. Like him or not, God allowed that position to be there for Biden, legally or not. It's still within God's will. So that's the problem I kind of have, is just making Trump and DeSantis. People can do this with DeSantis too. Is just making these guys too much of an idol or a god can be an issue. That's something that for me, that just got to be careful of oh, it's our only hope. No, a person is not our only hope. We only have one hope. Period.
So are you saying that you think that Trump will say whatever he wants, whatever he thinks people want to hear?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I mean, think about it. Now again, I like the speech he gave at CPAC.
Okay.
But I mean, he already sit here and said, I'm your retribution. I am this. I am that, etc., etc. Would it shock me?
What does that mean? You don't think he believes that, or you think?
No, I think he believes it. He definitely believes it, 100%. But that could go too far of belief. As far as if if a majority of Trump's would it shock me if Trump said I'm your master or your God or whatever, or I am the great I'm God sent or something like that. No, it wouldn't shock me if the majority said that because would he believe it? Yes, for one, because everybody else is telling him that. As far as his majority, whatever, is saying that, and so it's one of those catch-22s. He believes it because people are saying it, but also he believes it because of his own ego. I wouldn't be surprised if he already believes it. It's just a matter of I'm not saying it out loud because because not everybody is necessarily in that flow of things to want me to say it. So I don't know. Again, how far his ego? My thing is just questioning how far his ego goes.
Okay.
So I mean, does that make sense a little bit?
Sort of, but I mean, my thing is, I don't think that he does say what he says for votes. I think that when you look at 2016, he had popular political positions, but he also had extremely unpopular political positions. He stood up in the Republican Party of the Bushes and said John McCain was not a war hero.
But that was.
He said that the war in Iraq was a mistake.
But the Tea Party movement was a thing. That's on the coattails of the Tea Party movement. The Tea Party movement that was one of the most popular things that really scared the crap out of the Democrats at the time too. And so now comes in this big guy Trump of like, hey, yeah, I'm saying a lot of this stuff. Iraq wasn't popular amongst the Tea
Partiers, but it was with the other Republicans.
But the thing is arguably the Tea Party paved his way, and arguably the Tea Party is what got him into 2016 presidency. Arguably.
Yeah.
So I would argue
he's
just saying a growing popular opinion at that time because again the Tea Party scared the crap out of the Democrats.
But did he keep his promises?
I'm not saying he did.
So did he say what he said in order to get votes? Because when I hear that, it makes me.
I think he said what he said to get votes.
It
yes,
makes me
but
think of
again,
a
he also did what he did what he was going to say.
So to me, that's where it's like a non-issue. Because if you do what you say you're going to do, then you saying what you're saying to get votes is a non-issue in my opinion.
I'm just saying what I'm worried about is the ego going too far.
That's where you and I are together.
Yeah.
I said to this to you in the prep.
Yeah.
That's always been the case. There were crazies in 2016 saying, "Oh, this guy is the best thing ever." And the problem is, to me, I don't think it's at a higher level now than it ever has been.
I don't think it is yet. I think he can get there.
I would.
If he doesn't get indicted, or if he does and escapes that, etc., etc.
It was really strong in 2016 and 2020. I don't know why it will be stronger in 2024.
Because there's a lot more to ride on here. I mean, he's to win back the presidency, etc. I mean, there's just a lot more. He's gonna go against Ron DeSantis, etc. I don't know. There's a lot. I feel that he's got a lot more to prove. When he really doesn't, but he's got a lot more to prove.
Oh, he thinks he has.
Oh, he thinks he does. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even his supporters believe he does too. But see, that in my opinion is a problem within itself, guys. Trump, there's nothing to prove here. We need the best candidate. So let these guys go at it. Like, stop with this whole DeSantis is wrong for, the Florida comments, etc., etc. Quite frankly, I don't think what DeSantis said was really strong, but it wasn't really wrong. It's like a 50-50 thing. You know what I'm talking about when DeSantis talked about the indictment or whatever. Right.
No, what did he say recently?
Basically, he just said he wasn't gonna step in or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially. He said a little more than that.
I don't know what else. If that's what he said.
He said a little more than that, but that's essentially.
Okay, well, if that's one thing that he said, and that one thing that he said, I would agree with. I don't think anyone else really should. Now, if he said more than that, I'd have to hear the exact quote. I tried to find it. I tried to find it, by the way, and couldn't.
Oh,
so
really?
I'd have to dig.
You'll have to find it or whatever, because I don't have it word for word.
And we'll put it when we find it. We will put it in the comment section.
Yeah. But I don't have it word for word. But I mean, he did throw a couple jabs in there about, he talked about P-Star. You can't say that. I know that for a fact. I can't say that on YouTube. No, I mean the P-Star.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm saying that for myself. Anyway, he did talk about P-Star hush money, and it's like, hey, you didn't really need to say that. So it's like, okay, I get that, but then again, Trump's thrown jabs at him before when he shouldn't have, etc. So it's like some of this is just playing politics. In the end, I don't think what DeSantis said was oh my gosh, crazy, but yet Trump, like the Trump base is like throwing this all under the, like just I don't know.
I think it's because people are really thinking that these two are going to go against each other,
I mean, me
and
too.
it could be. I don't. I don't know. I mean, I honestly wonder what's taking DeSantis so long, because you would think by now there'd be something. Maybe not. Maybe he's waiting till the summer. Maybe he's going to wait till early fall of this year. I don't know. But I'm a little surprised he hasn't said something
He's still doing
significant.
that book tours, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but
He's got plenty of time for one. Second off, also another strategy, potential. Doubt it is true because I do think that DeSantis is going to run. But if DeSantis doesn't run, right? DeSantis could be playing this whole thing of like, look, I'm at least getting Trump's name out there as far as that goes. So you're at least keeping Trump relative. So to an extent, you're still doing Trump a favor. Now again, I doubt that that's the case, but could technically do it while also getting your own popularity up for like 2028 and stuff like that.
could be.
Now again, don't think that's what's going on, but it wouldn't necessarily be completely stupid because people are paying attention to it. The media's paying attention to it. I mean, shoot, why not? And anytime Trump's name is out there, it raises polls. It raises polls for both of the guys. So it's like it's a win-win for both of them to an extent.
Well,
DeSantis isn't going to stop going at Trump. Trump's not going to stop going at DeSantis because it gets media coverage. And if it gets media coverage, polls go up, at least for the primaries. I mean, so that's the biggest thing.
So do you think that Trump gets indicted?
The reason I think he does is because you only need 12 of 20 people in New York to say yes. And so it's not hard to find 12 people in New York to say yes. It should be fair, but hey, no. It's New York. So yes. But it wouldn't shock me if he doesn't, because we've heard stuff like this before. There's been these cries of arrest before, so he's avoided arrest before. I could see it this time. It would be stupid, but I could see it. And I hope that the Dems understand. I think the reason that they haven't done it yet is because it's not going to work the way that they want it to work. They want Trump to do this perp walk, etc., etc. You do understand that Trump still has this thing called the Secret Service, right? The Secret Service is required to do certain things to protect the president, etc., etc. So, yeah, you'll probably get some photos of him, the DNA. I don't even know if he'd have to get it fingerprinted and stuff like that because who knows if the Secret Service says, hey, this is an issue for security reasons of what. Again, the Secret Service does have like a certain, they're not disobeying law, but they have their own law when it comes to and this applies to Biden, this applies to all presidents and stuff like that. Shoot, even if you went to a, the New York prison, like not federal, New York State prison, whatever. If he went there, they could literally say, hey, this is like not federal, this is like presidential ground or like classified ground now. And New York could be like, no, it's not. Yes, it is, because the FBI has the ability, not FBI, the Secret Service has the ability to claim something as, hey, you can't be here. This is, sacred, quote unquote sacred, or whatever you want to call it.
Secured.
Yeah, this is secured ground. So and that wouldn't be good for New York prison because then where are you going to put the prisoners? Which New York probably doesn't care about that.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of it. Like, does he get indicted? Maybe. But does he get thrown in prison? Probably not.
What's tricky is the way this whole thing began. It began with Trump saying, I want to say either Thursday or Friday of last week,
Yeah.
Hey, as of Tuesday, I'm probably going to be arrested. And Tuesday has come and Tuesday is gone. And
then it was pushed to Wednesday. Wednesday is
gone
and Wednesday is almost gone.
Yeah, today is Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, and that hasn't materialized. It may be Friday or Saturday of this week. It may be next week. Or he may not be indicted at all. I mean, my thing is that I've been telling people is it could be like late this week.
The longer it's waiting, I tend to say no.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't happen this week or next week, I don't think it's going to happen.
Sure.
I think that they've probably ran out of stuff, and they've also, the Dems have kind of thought, this could also bite us in the butt. So yeah, I don't think it's okay.
One thing I told you in the prep that another friend, you haven't met him yet, but you will.
Mm.
Actually, no, you have met him. Was saying is he wonders if the deep state, the establishment, the New World Order, is trying to feel Trump out and see is Trump easier for us to beat in 2024, or is he the hardest one to beat in 2024?
Right.
And if they think he's the hardest, go ahead and like legally bar him from running. If he's actually pretty defeatable for 2024, let him run.
Yeah.
That what I heard that was a very interesting theory, because the question really is who are they going to run against him? And I think if it's Biden, Trump will win again. And
the third time.
Yeah. And so that's one thing. But if it's not, if it's someone else, if it's a Democrat that's just as bad, if it's Kamala, I think Trump has a real shot. If it's not, if it's someone like I will say, if it's someone like Cory Booker. Maybe.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Really?
He's not popular for one.
Really?
No, he was, close, I guess, but he still wasn't one of the more popular.
The establishment,
most of those Democrats weren't very popular.
The establishment didn't get behind Booker. If they got behind Booker, that all changes, in my opinion. You keep mentioning in almost every episode, and you're correct in mentioning this, Michelle Obama, if she wants to...
Oh, I think she'd automatically be popular.
If she wants to... Well, let's think. If she wants to run is the question, and if she does actually run, I think Trump
would
have
an
an actual issue. Yes, I do. Because there's plenty of people that will go out there and vote Democrat no matter what. I think with independents...
And that would go with the trans... I'm joking, kind of, sort of.
Oh. Yeah.
You get the woman, the trans, everything. Right. For those of y'all that don't know... the trans joke, find me a picture of Michelle Obama pregnant. Anyway, beside the point. Can't find it unless it's photoshopped. You really can't. I'm not kidding. So you get the trans vote. What? 1% of the vote.
Well,
that's assuming they vote too.
If they don't.
If they what?
If they don't do this.
Oh man, that's horrible.
If they go vote.
Golly. But yeah, well, okay, but they're only like, what, 1% of the population, right?
Well, again, if they live.
Yeah, yes.
Living or dead. Well, then again, the dead vote Democrat.
Fair. But, so, that's 1% of the vote, but that's even
You're doubly Democrat if you're trans and you're
That's 1% of the vote, and that's also assuming that 1% even goes, that all that 1% even votes. So, that's probably even just 0.5 of the vote. Anyway, so nobody cares.
Yeah, I feel like that's pushing it. I mean, I've seen, now the highest number that I've ever seen with the LGBTQ is actually women that I think the number I saw was 19 to 30, and it was like, again, this was LGBTQ, so that includes lesbians and everything, was like, women 19 to 30 was like 26%. Now again, that's a certain age, and that's very broad, with not just trans but also lesbians, also
Yeah, and there's a lot of factors into that.
Well,
is it just because okay, cool, they identify as that, but
yes, and also are they saying, oh, I'm bi, but then they have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
There's women that are like that, and it's very strange. It's like, well, no, you're not. You're straight, but you call yourself bisexual, which is just a bunch of weirdness and
pansexual, by the way. Pansexual is just bisexual with extra steps.
It does not mean that you're doing it with a skill.
No, it does not mean that, but it's just bisexual with extra steps. Oh, I like them for their personality. That's legitimately bisexual.
That's called being in love.
Yeah, right. Except for if it's with another dude
exactly.
and a dude, it's wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
There's something like that where I forget what's the demisexual, which is I only feel sexual attraction when I have emotional connection, and someone was like, that just means you fell in love. That's all you're saying is oh, I have a connection to your personality, therefore I want to do you. It's that's like being in love. You're not just in it for the physical experience, you're in it for the romantic experience. That's just weird. That's just a weird step.
And then there's what? There's also asexual.
Right? Yeah.
And isn't asexual
single?
Yeah, well, single, but you just you're with somebody, but you don't have sexual.
Apparently, that's how that
it's
works.
Cool. You don't have a high sex drive. Awesome. doesn't mean it's a sexuality, bro.
Yeah, right. That's what's funny is they call it a sexuality,
Yeah.
but isn't that technically like lack
bro,
of a sexuality?
Yeah, bro. You just don't have a high sex drive,
Yeah.
and like technically asexual. That's not what asexual means. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I've said that asexual means you can reproduce with yourself, which you cannot do.
Well,
Or reproduce yourself.
Well, again, A, as you know, with the English root means no or not.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you use sex. I mean, it could
it's a
mean
50-50, but
in a weird way. It
most
could
of
be
the time, like in biology,
yeah.
when you talk about
Yes.
asexual,
Yes.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's like when you want to talk. When
Oh.
you talk about asexual in biology, you know, so it's like changing of words to an extent. But
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like, yeah, I'm asexual, bro. You just have a low sex drive. Just hush.
Just,
Like,
it's okay. There's no need to brag
it's
about it.
literally fine. Like,
There's no need to brag about it.
Like,
It's
the
weird.
only ones that I'll accept is the L and the G at this point. Like,
Well, Android makes good
and
products.
I don't accept that. I'm just saying, like, yeah, cool. That, like, yeah, that's gay. That's lesbian. Awesome, I guess. But
No.
like, there's no such thing as trans.
No.
Yeah, I know it's not awesome. You know what I mean. But like,
Well, hey, at least we can wrap our head around that a little bit.
yeah.
Like,
And,
rather
like,
than the trans
I guess I'll
thing.
accept. So I'll accept the L, the G, and the B because it's like, okay, I like both. Okay.
Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah,
LGBT.
let's go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the one I support. But like the T, no.
Testosterone.
Yeah, the A, no. The P, no. The Q, I thought that was an offensive word.
Yeah.
Because, well, I've heard that the Q stands for like, I've heard it stands for queer, but then I've also heard it stands for questioning. Okay, wouldn't that technically be bi? You don't know if you're bi, so it's like, okay, but if it does stand for queer, I thought that was offensive. I was taught that we don't call people that.
It's like the N word.
Yeah, it's like, yeah,
You
that's
can
what,
only say it if you are one.
right? It's like I don't get it. It's like, wait, why are we including Q in here? Because I've heard that Q was offensive. Like when I was raised, we don't call people that, even if they're straight. We don't call people. That's just not a nice word to use. Okay, like what's next? The F word gets thrown in there too. I know that's a bad word. What?
No, no.
Like
P.
what? Pan?
No, the other meaning. That's what comes next. That's where this goes.
Yeah.
That's where this goes.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, there was an effort. Like NAMBLA tried to get it added, and then there was at least some backlash. But what's really weird about that is like people that are on either TikTok or not YouTube.
Oh, you're talking about
Twitter.
maps, right?
Yeah.
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 Maps.
Yeah.
The fact that we have a name for them is ridiculous. How about you call them what they are? Pedos.
Yes. That's fine by the P. Now they wouldn't call themselves that. They would call themselves a map.
Oh, that'll get added.
They would call
at some
themselves a
point.
map.
That'll get added at some point.
No, I didn't see what's funny is Gays Against Groomers or they were on I think Twitter and TikTok, and the crap they get that these people are gay and say, but we're against these people that are clearly grooming kids, either to be trans or to be sexually okay with sexual.
Which is
intercourse.
great, but at the same time, I still disagree with them.
Right, I disagree with them too, but the thing
Except
is,
for the,
they get
against
so
groomers.
much hate
Oh, yeah.
from the trans community because
Yeah,
they're
because
like, you're transphobic or whatever.
When it
It's
comes
just
to
ridiculous.
any of these leftist groups, Black Lives Matter, LGBT, etc., any of these leftist groups, you can't just go somewhat down the rabbit hole. You got to go all the way down until it continues and continues. It doesn't stop. They never stop. That's the problem. So like you got to go all the way down until it stops. It doesn't stop.
It's like you said. I think you was in our first episode or our second of Zoo Nation. You
Yeah.
said they don't ask the question, but then what?
Yeah, exactly.
They just say it feels good to be for Black Lives. It's like
Let's keep
okay,
tearing down
but
and
how-
continue to add the.
How far does this go?
Yeah.
And they don't have an endpoint. The endpoint is really just complete bondage, complete just perversion.
I mean, I guess
and-
technically the ABC squad has to stop at 26, though, right?
No, because it'll start over.
Or they just start using symbols.
Yeah.
Exclamation mark. Dang it. Question mark. Wait, isn't there
Just
actually...
never use this emoji.
Yeah. They don't use the question mark, do they?
No, they should.
Yeah, question.
That'd be pretty
Yeah, why don't you just use LGBT question mark if that's what it stands for?
I
Is
feel
questioning.
like someone would feel like that was offensive, but it's funny. It's funny to think about. You're right. I mean, that would actually make sense rather than Q being for the other word.
Yeah, I just
We're,
this.
if it means questioning, just do a question mark.
Yeah, it's like
so-
it means queer. I mean, I guess keep it a Q, but I don't know. I
weird inconsistency of how it's okay to say that, except for if you're not that. It's just, yeah, weird. Weird.
It's that is so double standard for one, and just.
So I guess back to the 2024.
Yeah, how we got on that?
Me neither. We started talking about the trans folk.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I had to make my jokes. So
yeah.
And then we started talking about that little whole tangent about the LGBTQ. So so that being said, Caitlyn Jenner 2024.
Yeah. As a Republican.
As a Republican. No, kick I was gonna say him out of the party.
Kick her in the ball.
Out of the party.
That she definitely still has.
Yeah. And if he wants to run as a Democrat, then he can run as a Democrat. I mean, I think it's a joke. It's asinine that he has his own show on Fox News, and it's asinine that people would call that a Republican. It's again crazy. It's just insane. So that's the thing. It could be him as Michelle Obama's running.
That's why I don't identify as Republican. I identify as conservative.
I get that.
Because as a conservative, we can serve two genders. That's male and female.
Yes, sir.
So I mean that's the one thing is at least with conservative, you
know what you are.
Yeah, you know what you are and you know what's out there. That's it.
Yes,
that's what you try and conserve. I mean that's it.
Yeah.
Like you try and conserve what's true.
It's set in stone, and the thing that I really want to see happen with the Republican Party is a move towards Christian values, which is actually very loving and very compassionate, but it's because it's very truthful.
Yeah.
We don't believe in delusion. We don't believe in nonsense.
100%.
And we have enough love in our hearts to say that even though you say you're homosexual, that's a lifestyle that's not good for you. Here is the lifestyle God has for you as a son, as a daughter. And one thing that I really think is generally true. It's funny. The documentary "What Is a Woman?" These people were pagans, like animistic. They don't believe in God at all. But when Matt Walsh asked, what do you think of a man that would say, I want to be a woman, they said, that man has something wrong. And what was interesting was the next line, he has something wrong with his father or his father's family. And what's funny about that is, I really genuinely think when you look at how messed up people that are in the single parent household, particularly the black community, are, it's fatherlessness.
Yeah. And
I genuinely think that in almost every situation of someone that's LGBTQ, whatever. Where's the dad? Where's the dad? That's what I'm getting down to. And if men stood up and did what they needed to do, then I genuinely think that most of the stuff we're seeing out here wouldn't exist. Would some of it be out there? Yeah. But if someone would know, my father loves me and I have a relationship with my father, if men didn't cheat on their wives, if they didn't leave the household, if they didn't go into alcoholism and drug use and things like that, then we wouldn't have the crap that police have to deal with on the street and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It would just be so much better if men stood up for truth and and actually loved in the correct right way. That's the issue, and so that's what we need the Republican Party to reflect. The Republican Party needs to be the Christian values party. Really, I mean, and I mean, I wouldn't mind renaming it. I wouldn't mind changing the logo. It needs to become the Christian Values Party, and it needs to actually stand up for truth and for right. And I think, honestly, if they did, that said, the constituency needs to move that direction too, and that will only happen if the church does what it needs to do. We were discussing this in the
past. Oh yeah, 100%. And I agree with what you're saying. Like I hope and wish the Republican Party would go that way, but I see the Republican Party going one of two ways. And sadly, as of right now, I see it going the other way that I don't like. One towards God and Christian values, etc. This other one of like, we have these values that you agree with, Christian values, but hey, gods and idols type thing. Extra stuff as far as like, hey, Trump is our savior or Desantis is our savior. Who insert name here. You can't do that. You can't have Christian values but act.
Right.
So it's like, oh yeah, Christian, but I worship idols.
Right.
No.
Do that.
That's not.
That's what Israel did sometimes
exactly.
too. They would sometimes say, we worship Yahweh, Jehovah, but then they would also go to the high places and worship Baal and all this other stuff. And it didn't work. God didn't say, I'm willing to be satisfied with your worship of me as long as you keep worshiping me. He said, no, you worship me and me
in
alone.
the way I say it.
Yes,
exactly.
And
so that's sadly I see. I mean, we already know the left is that way. I mean that's the left is that.
If they even worship God at all.
Right. Exactly. So the left is like.
I mean, there's some saying we worship Satan,
Yeah, but it's another case of trying to out-left the left here, and
can't do it.
But not even. I don't know if this is intentional, but it's just the way that human nature is.
True.
We look to, or sinful human nature, I should say, not human nature. Well, yeah, which is naturally sinful. So human nature,
Adam,
we look for a savior other than God,
right?
And it's like that. Like, really, guys? Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not against Trump. I'm not against Desantis. I'm not against pretty much any Republican except for Liz Cheney out there that might run. Or is running.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln.
I will,
transgender.
If she comes to South Carolina, I will shave this, and I'm really tall. I will walk up in a top hat and, what's the term? Disavow her.
That would be hilarious.
I will do that. You will go there with a camera with me, and I will give
100%.
a big, loud Lincoln speech disavowing her.
That would be hilarious.
Yes.
That I would love that. But yeah, no, it is one of those things of.
And you will dress as John Wilkes Booth.
Oh yeah, right.
Don't have a gun on you.
But yeah, no, I'm not against any Republican again, except for exceptions. But what I am against is how far do we how far do we elevate these people? If we elevate them to a God status, that's where it's like, look, I can't support it. If we're going to elevate Trump to that status, look.
Well, there's a difference between talking about a candidate preference and going too far.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we were talking earlier, there's one book, literally, maybe this is what you're talking about. I forget now. I want to say it's called The Son of God, and it's got Trump's face on the title. And they literally try to take every time that Jesus said, no, the Son of Man. They try to say that every time Jesus talked about the Son of God, he was talking about himself.
Yeah.
But every time he talked about the Son of Man and what the Son of Man was going to do, he was talking about Trump.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is either like a schizophrenic person writing this, or someone that's like a false prophet.
Yeah.
Like either he's crazy or he's like straight up evil. Whoever's writing this. I don't know. I don't know. I have no desire to read it.
That's
I'm not going
to
read it.
I can't get behind.
And there's people out there that tweet stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. They're out there, but I do think that I'll hold to what I've said is true. I think it's been pretty consistent since 2016. I don't think it's growing.
No.
That's my thing.
World.
Maybe you think it's going to get worse. Maybe it will get worse. But
I
don't
think
think
the world is just looking, Republicans included. I just think the world is looking for a savior other than God in general, and that's the issue I have with it. So I mean that's my huge thing.
Well, we're at an hour. You can wrap up, and then we'll wrap up this video.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts on what you were saying.
Only thing I'm gonna say is protesting, right? Because Trump called for him. Totally cool with protesting. But here's the biggest thing I'm gonna say, and I've been consistent with this stuff. Do not do anything stupid. Don't do anything that is going to get you, for example, if you're a person that has a you're very easily fly off at the handle guy, don't go. I will for one time say, don't practice, one of your, rights. Just because of the fact of that's what they want you to do. That's what the left wants. If you paid attention to the media when they've talked about these protests, they've talked about like, oh yeah, you got the right, but they get out of hand. Interesting. They didn't say that with BLM, but they'll say them with this. That's exactly what they want to do. Why? Because the second people start doing this, they take away rights. That's the only thing I'm gonna say. You want to protest? That's fine. That's great. Again, you can protest about anything, even if I disagree about it. But do it the way you're supposed to. Do not be stupid with it. And again, if you think, well, man, somebody could agitate me to where I just fly off the handle, then don't go. Don't be stupid. Again, you might really want to, but if you're that type of person that can't, calm it down, don't go.
Smart.
or if it gets to that point, leave.
Yeah.
You know, like, or if things look shady around there, like, you know, like some J6 stuff, get out. You know, don't just don't give them ammo. I mean, because that's what they want. I mean, so again, I'm all for peaceful protest. Go out there and protest. Go out and, you know, be on the sidewalks.
Sure.
Not the streets. Sidewalks. But yeah, no, I mean, the Democrats really want to protect. The Democrats really want the streets. We need to take that back. But in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And do not give them what they want, because that will cause us, law-abiding citizens, and just people in general, so many issues. But, you know, there's already issues with the possible indictment of Trump and everything. I mean, this is a fall in general for America, but things can get a lot worse just by more people doing the wrong thing or overreacting. I'm not saying that this isn't something to necessarily overreact about, but however, you've got to do it in the right way. So that's the biggest thing I'll say to it. So,
good.
So, yeah.
No, good way to end. Well, I will say before we actually end this episode, as you alluded to earlier, we've had some issues with YouTube. So if you're looking through our episodes and you're like, well, how come you went from episode 12 to episode 14, for example? It's on Odyssey. Go to Odyssey. Go to Rumble and go to Odyssey, because it's going to be on there. And we will put out links on our social media, and you'll see somewhere, it's here. And you'll find, we'll have in the description of these episodes of the YouTube channel what we have left up. You'll have a link to Odyssey. Go to our Odyssey channel and you'll find the missing episode there, because Odyssey actually believes in free speech. Because of the comments that, I don't know which one of us made the comment that sunk it. No, I actually don't think so. Because I've been more of a hardliner on J6 and you've been more of a hardliner on the jab. We've both been a hardliner on the jab.
Wasn't it the jab that got us banned the last time?
Yeah, I think so.
It was me.
I mean, we both talked about that though. I mean, I didn't disagree with anything you said. In fact, I am right there with you.
My comments of the POCUS killed people, I'm pretty sure that's probably what did it.
Could be. And guys, frankly, he's like this, I'm like this. If we lose this, too bad. I'm saving these episodes, and we can put everything on Odyssey and Rumble if we got to. Mm-hmm. Just let us know on our social media. Hey, this has been taken down, and we'll put it on Odyssey. We will, and that's the plan. And even with this one right here, it's going to go on Odyssey, and you can find it. We'll be on Rumble or Odyssey, and if we have to put all our episodes of Zoo Nation on Odyssey because we don't have a Zoo Nation YouTube channel anymore, number one, we're going to try to make another YouTube channel, and number two, we'll have it on Odyssey and Rumble. So stay with us, guys. We appreciate your following us, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Zoo Nation. My name is Josh.
I'm Nathan.
Everybody have a great evening and take care. God bless.